All right. Welcome to the JEB Board Podcast. I am not Grayson, obviously. I've got about 100 pounds on him and a beard. So I am filling in for Grayson currently. Uh, and it's going to be an interesting episode. Grayson should be on here later, but in the meantime, you got me, Nick Noah. You got Cheese
Indicator Nick.
Brain. Yeah, Andy Gator Nick. You also got Cheese Brain Kyle, and you got 28-3 Denier BB. So, how we feeling tonight?
Terrible. Oh, terrible weekend to be a Wisconsin
I'm honestly
fan,
shocked Arthur Smith ain't fired
including
yet.
the NFL.
Dude, Arthur Smith, when I saw that he had Bijan returning punts,
I
I was
didn't
like,
even notice it.
okay, like that's where we're at
Yeah, he was
now.
like, you want him to get more touches? Bet.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm surprised he wasn't taking snaps out of the Wildcat.
I saw
But
Twitter on Twitter when the guy was like, "Hey, Bijan, you're kicking it too."
yeah, yeah. Well, hell, Texans running back was able to get a field goal, so why not Bijan? But so yeah, we got an interesting episode though. We're kind of swapping it up. We're gonna save some of the highlights and lowlights for later. Because I know me and Grayson both want to talk about UFC 295 for a bit, and these idiots didn't watch it. So we're gonna really go over a couple things there. So we're gonna save that a little bit later. And but first, we're gonna start out in NFL this week. Kind of an interesting week that we saw. We did not do very good in our picks. But before we get into our game predictions, we're going to kind of talk about, we're getting a lot of this feed and social media and during half times that people are starting to give you the front runners for NFL MVP. And so first, we kind of want to take a second and talk about the criteria and including quarterbacks criteria to be an MVP, whether that be highest statistical, oh, Tua's got the most passing yards, so he should be MVP, or is it more of a or less of a statistical thing and more of a I'm providing wins because of me or upside because of me. So what are y'all's thoughts on the MVP criteria versus, what we think it should be?
I got two things on it. I think it's a little bit of both. Obviously, you want the stats there. You can't just throw in someone because like, oh yeah, he got his team here, but he's only got 800 receiving yards on the year, of course. But I think a big part is how well do you help your team perform, of course. But another thing we're always are also forgetting is team wins. I don't think anyone on a team that is 8-8 should win an MVP.
All right, BB.
Really, I think the MVP is probably the guy that um you have to focus on, which leads up to other players being open. So, like for example, my MVP is Tyreek Hill. And when you play the Dolphins, you better make sure you have a cornerback and a safety on them, which will you're doing that. You're leaving one-on-one coverage for either Waddle, Barrios, who could beat you in one-on-one.
Okay, so y'all are kind of more upside, and that's kind of where I'm at. And we'll get into our MVPs in a minute, BB. So thank you for spoiling it. Uh, but
I'm here for
our I feel like NFL MVP recently it's what's the quarterback that takes them furthest in the playoffs. So like Patrick Mahomes won it last year. Uh and I mean statistically he was up there. I mean he led the league in passing and they won the Super Bowl. But we're
it.
looking at it now and Patrick Mahomes is in the lead currently for it again. And I just feel like we're looking too much statistically, and we really need. I mean, right now, I like CJ Stroud. He's one that's starting to kind of because he's turning so many heads, but he's providing these huge wins. He's leading these game winning drives, And I mean, he's turning the Texans around. So minus the, statistical side, like pure upside, I mean, CJ Stroud's starting to trend. But that's kind of the criteria that I've got. But as far as what we're going to do now is we're going to go and take a look at who our non-quarterback MVPs will be, because again, NFL MVP has been a quarterback award for a while now. And in my opinion, and in some of our opinions, I don't think it should be a quarterback every year. I think there are more players that are more deserving. Like I thought Cooper Kupp should have won it when he broke the record for receiving yards in a season, but he didn't because he wasn't a quarterback. So let's take a moment to kind of highlight some players that probably won't win it because they aren't a quarterback. And for example, like I'll go ahead and give Grayson's and Caleb. Grayson picked Keenan Allen. And in quotes, this is what he said. He scores a lot of touchdowns, but Keenan Allen is top 5 in all categories for receivers currently. And what Keenan Allen is doing, it's kind of funny that the Chargers have lost Mike Williams and they lost Josh Palmer. And instead of saying next man up, Keenan Allen just said, give me more targets. And he's taken on that, and he's been their entire receiving offense. So he definitely fits some of the criteria, but I don't think the Chargers are winning enough to be able to get one of those awards. What you got, Kyle?
Correct. Going off Keenan Allen too, if you look at his age, man, he's not in his mid 20s where you see a lot of the MVP caliber talent. He's starting to get up there in the age for a receiver, and to do what he's doing now at that age is really impressive. I mean, it's
insane.
not just the touchdowns; it's his yards. He's over 100 every game,
and I think, he does lead the league in receptions as well. And then Caleb, he put Christian McCaffrey, and I think that's obvious. And so I'm not going to spend much time. Everybody knows, Christian McCaffrey, but I want to hear from you guys who y'all picked. BB, if we want to start with you, since you've already kind of said yours, kind of go over why. I know you said because he opens other players up, but him specifically, why'd you pick, what he does?
I mean, he's one of the best players in the league, and he's kind of the same boat to me as like a receiver, Christian McCaffrey, where you can just get the ball to him in space, and you'll more than likely score a touchdown. Looking at his stats throughout this season, there's only been one game where he hasn't really scored one touchdown in, and that was the Buffalo game, which was just kind of a little duck fart of a game for the whole Miami team, anyways.
Yeah.
But I mean, and that way, he makes plays. He's just a guy, just a dude.
Thank you.
Dude being
All
dude.
right.
Guy being a man. He's a man. He's a guy. He's a guy you want on your team.
Beautiful. All right. Well, Kyle, give me yours.
Yeah, so I instead of going with an offensive player, I actually went with a defensive as TJ Watt. If you look at Pittsburgh, they have a horrendous offense. It's pretty obvious, but you go to their defense, easily top 5 in the league. That's thanks to TJ Watt leading that. At his stats, he has 22 solos, 10.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. He is just dominating all over the field. I mean, most of the time you're seeing 2 people line up against him, and they still get in the backfield. I think he is the reason that the Steelers have 6 wins.
You don't think it's because of old Matt Canada, superstar?
No.
Yeah,
No. Actually,
they tried
I think it's because
murdering
Hayes is
Matt
I
Canada.
some voodoo.
noticed this today that Pittsburgh and Miami have the same record, and that's one of those stats that don't seem right. That couldn't be right, but it is.
Yeah, and that, like I said, it just goes back to that defense. That
Really, I mean,
when
I
you
know
got a force like TJ.
Kenny Pickett has small hands and all, but on paper, Steelers shouldn't be that bad.
Yeah. I mean, with all the upside that they've
Pickens,
had,
you got George Pickens, you got.
Deontay Johnson back.
I mean, Najee's probably not the Najee they thought they were getting, but I mean, he's still a decent running back, I would say. Like not as a if you platoon them, which I think they
Yeah.
are.
Sorry, I enjoyed listening to the Wisconsin natural sounds of police and gun violence. Sorry, Kyle.
Don't live in Milwaukee, kids.
Oh, Milwaukee.
Ooh, okay, we're getting into some
It's a hospital too.
yeah, we're getting into some very interesting. Yeah, anyways. So my MVP is AJ Brown. He doesn't necessarily have the statistics that Tyreek does, just because I mean, I feel like Tyreek is able to turn a screen into a 75-yard house call. But AJ Brown, since throwing that little fit on the sideline, he's the only other receiver over 1,000 yards, along with Tyreek. He's at 1,006 with 67 receptions and 6 touchdowns. His thing is clutch catches for first downs on fourth downs in the fourth quarter. He makes these go ahead touchdowns. Like, it's not just his stats, it's the timing of his stats. And I mean, I honestly, don't get me wrong, I think the Eagles are a great team. They can do a good push for the Super Bowl again. But Jalen is not last year Jalen. He's been a little bit banged up, and he's still, I mean, performing at a very high level. But if AJ Brown is not on that team, they lose, I'd say, probably close to 25 to 30% of the wins they have. So just the amount of, I mean, he's a big physical receiver. He opens up Devontae Smith, kind of like what Tyreek Hill does for Jalen Waddle and Barrios, but he's just more of a physical receiver. I mean, he's a big guy, and I think that's why he is more deserving of an MVP than Jalen Hurts. But because he doesn't lead the league in receptions or receiving yards, he's not even in contention. But based on the criteria of who makes their team better, I feel like AJ Brown is kind of in that area. But
Oh, hey, buddy.
I have arrived. Our game predictions for this week, guys, are Philadelphia and Kansas City, Pittsburgh and Cleveland, the Jets and the Bills, Seattle and the Rams, and the Chargers and the Packers. Just going over our records from last week, we again suck at NFL picks. We went 48% last week, which was 12 of 25. And we are at 51.2% for the year. Hopefully we can hit that 49.8 mark that we're all striving to get to. Kyle and Caleb both are at 23 and 27. Nick is at 32 and 18. BB is at 21 and 29. And I'm at 29 and 21. The best records we had last week was Caleb and Nick both at 3 and 2. So that being said, I'll go through Caleb's picks right quick. He picked Philadelphia. He picked Cleveland against Pittsburgh. He picked Buffalo against the Jets. He picked the Rams against Seattle, and he picked the Chargers against the Green Bay. So, Kyle, start us off, buddy. Go through your picks.
Yeah, so my first one, I got Kansas City over Philadelphia. Philly's about to hit the really hard part of their schedule, and I think they're going to start tumbling. It's going to start with Kansas City. Offense is going to be too much for that defense. Going next, I got Pittsburgh over Cleveland. I just, like I was talking about earlier, Pittsburgh's defense is just stout, and I think Deshaun's going to be out this game, if I'm not mistaken, and Pittsburgh's going to jump on that pretty aggressively.
No, he's not.
I thought he got hurt last game.
No, he went 14 of 14 and led a 24-point comeback.
Wow. Well, I stopped watching at halftime when he went to the locker room. Maybe they gave him some Michael Jordan secret sauce.
Massage.
Yeah. Anyways, New York Jets over Buffalo. New York Jets over Buffalo.
Grayson
me
has
Buffalo.
arrived, and so has the Andy Gators for me. So
Oh, it seems like
Yay.
it's like I'm just a bad influence.
We were doing so good before you got
No, we were not.
home.
We had Grayson,
But anyway,
Grayson
Oh,
can
Pitt,
control
go.
our ADHD.
I can't. I got a
Yeah.
fucking dumbass talking. Anyways, New York Jets have no QB. They suck on offense. Give me Buffalo. Seattle, I really like them. I think they're going to beat the Rams pretty easily, to be honest. Evan, I'm going on a hope pick right here for Green Bay because I picked
Wrong.
Green Bay to beat the Chargers in the beginning of the season, and I need them their 6 wins to get my prediction correct. So go Green Bay, baby.
that has not worked anytime anybody has done that, just by doing a hope pick just to get back in the race.
Yeah.
Preseason predictions.
Yeah, I think the only way Green Bay and hope go in a sentence is that Green Bay fans have no hope. I think that's the only way they that fits together. All right, Nick, go ahead with your picks.
So I think Kansas City is going to win against Philly for the opposite reason that Kyle thinks they're going to win, is because of Kansas City's defense. I think they're going to halt Philly's offense. And you saw Dallas be able to do that a little bit, but I think Kansas City is a better team than Dallas. And so I think Kansas City, coming off the bye week, will have, a couple things figured out. I think you give Kansas City the bye week and Andy Reid the bye week, that he figures some things out on offense. And so I think they're going to use Travis Kelce a lot as a decoy and use Noah Gray more. I know that's a bold statement, but I think they're going to kind of utilize, because I know the Eagles defense is going to be, tracking down Kelce. But then I've got Pittsburgh beating Cleveland. Cleveland did have that 24-point second half comeback. I'm just not bought on Cleveland. They're not consistent. That's their problem. There are times that they show that they're that gritty team, and they play well. They get a big win, kind of like last week, and then they come out the next week and get blown out. And I think Pittsburgh, as bad as they look, Mike Tomlin, I do give him credit as a great coach, and he always is over 500, and I think they'll do it again, barely. But I think Pittsburgh will win against the Browns. Then I've got Buffalo. This is the one that I kind of sat on for a while. And Buffalo will not make the same mistake as they did the first game when they got beat. And you're seeing the Jets defense wear down a little bit. They let up 16 to the Raiders, who were playing a, rookie backup quarterback. And so I think the Jets are wearing down just a little bit, and Buffalo is starting to hit a couple strides, and they're probably going to make a good playoff push here at the end. So give me Buffalo. Seattle, because the Rams just do not look good. Seattle is another one of those teams where the record is kind of deceiving, because I was pretty high on them, but they are definitely middle tier. But I think the Rams are lower than that tier. So I think the lack of the run game, and with the uncertainty at quarterback, whether that I don't know who it's going to be. So I think the Seattle Seahawks will win that. And then I've got my Chargers. Chargers just going to be a little bit too much. Green Bay they just don't look good.
Okay. Well, I know we'll get some fine analysis here. BB, let's go with your picks.
All right, for Philadelphia, Kansas City, give me the Swifties.
Okay.
Swifties. I think for all the reasons Nick and Kyle said. For Pittsburgh and Cleveland, give me the Browns. I hate you, Hayes. It's a hate pick. Nick, I love you. Buffalo, New York Jets. Give me the Buffalo because at some point during this game, Zach Wilson's going to overthink things and forget which team he's on and throw it to the wrong team like he did Monday or Sunday last night.
Today's Monday.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's been a wild ride this weekend, I'll tell you that. For Seattle and the Rams, give me Seattle. I like the Seattle's offense with the Walker fella. He runs the ball pretty hard.
Is this what you were talking about with winging it?
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
didn't do your notes and you just
Dude,
sit
I'm
there
sorry,
like,
I've been
oh, they look
puking and
hot.
shitting all weekend. All right.
You know, that team looks kind of hot right now. You know, that
Hot.
Walker
Hey,
is gonna
hey.
gonna run hard.
Hey, the Chargers and Green Bay. I'm going with the hotter team right here. Give me the Chargers.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I guess with my picks, I'm going to take Philadelphia against Kansas City. This is a rematch from the Super Bowl. And so I think Philadelphia wins and gives themselves a somewhat false sense of hope because I'm not predicting it, but I can absolutely see that I see that they win in the regular season and then they potentially meet in the Super Bowl yet again, and then you get the same result as last year. So I think this is like a little bit like a false sense of hope for them. Pitt versus Cleveland. I'm actually going to pick Pittsburgh. I think the tandem of Jalen Warren and half of Najee Harris is gonna, run. They're gonna give Cleveland some issues.
Top half or bottom half?
Definitely the top half because I was thinking more of the left side, not the right side. I was thinking more of the left side because he only uses half his brain when he runs. So, but yeah, give me Pittsburgh. The Jets and Buffalo, I went with Buffalo as well. Meeting from the beginning of the season, and the Bills won. The Bills won when they were planning for Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers went down. So I think since they have more preparation in terms of what they're actually going to deal with, I think the Bills secure a win there. Seattle and the Rams, I just think Seattle's the better team. As we've talked about, the Rams don't have a running game, and that receiving core that we had high hopes for the Rams is not really panning out how we thought they would. So I think Seattle wins a pretty safe game. And then Chargers at Green Bay. There's no way I'm picking Green Bay. I'm not. I'm not going to pick Green Bay against the Chargers when the Chargers just have that highlight offense that they do. So I guess with that being said, should we do highlights and lowlights now?
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful. All right. Well, we're going to do highlights and lowlights. Starting off, we'll talk about the first highlight being Georgia. We'll talk about Georgia first. Easy, Nick. We'll get there in a second. I wanted to leave that as the last one.
Give me a little more drinking time.
Yeah. First highlights Georgia. Georgia is by far and away the best team in the SEC, and
Country.
I think, yeah. They are the first, second, third, and fourth best team, and then we can talk about the fifth
Then
best
there's
team.
Michigan.
Yeah. So, Kyle, it looks like you have something you want to add about Georgia's dominance. Please, why don't you?
I want to hear you bark.
Georgia's a really good football team, guys. They're really good. Michael Penix Jr. is awesome. Heisman candidate.
All I'm saying is Saban has his offense figured out.
He's
And
having
when
fun.
they play each other, he is having fun. He's smiling.
Bo Nix leads the Heisman voting right now for the picks. I'm just saying. If he wins
I hope he wins so Auburn burns down the ground.
Oh, brother, I'm very happy he left. Brian Harsin was going to ruin him.
Yeah, I know, but
Alabama's going to dominate Georgia in the fucking SEC championship. All right, that's all I had to say on that.
Yeah, Bukaki had him a hell of a game last week. I swear that's what that man said. You should have saw me. Like when I looked up, I almost broke my neck when he scored that touchdown.
That's good.
Our second highlight is Missouri skull dragging Tennessee.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
That was
yeah. Tennessee didn't have a shot. Again, I mean, they were our pick last week. All of us picked Missouri, and I mean, like I said, I think Tennessee's overrated.
Well, I think
Just-
Missouri's that good.
I agree. I think Missouri.
See, I generally, because I mean, yeah, they choked away the LSU game and then
Mhm.
ran into Georgia, which I mean, Georgia. But
Yeah.
if they were in the West, I'm pretty sure they'd be in the SEC championship game.
You might be right. I mean, Missouri is definitely the second best team in the SEC East right now, and could arguably say they're the second best team in the SEC. I mean, obviously, has Missouri and Alabama played? Have they played this year?
No.
No, they don't.
Okay,
No, I don't
could.
think they played this year.
Okay,
I think
so yeah, but I mean, like I said, and we'll actually talk about one of the players from Missouri here in a little bit for our player of the week. Just spoiler alert, but yeah, they just absolutely dominated on both sides of the ball. I mean, they ended up scoring what? It was 35, 36 points.
36 to 7 and held Tennessee to 350 yards.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah, all season they were talking about how good Tennessee's defense is supposed to be, and then they get skull dragged.
drug.
Or their offense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then that gets into our final highlight, which is UFC 295. I am so glad I took the time to drive to 3 different places to find a place to watch this fight. 5 fights, all of which ended in the second round or earlier by knockout.
Yeah.
They just go boop.
I feel like every time you got to a new bar, it was when I made me another drink. And so by that point, like I thought I was having a heart attack when the first fight came on for the main card with Diego Lopez, killing Sabatini. I mean, it
Put him in purgatory.
Yeah, dude, I texted Grayson right after. I said, dude was dribbling his head like Steph.
Yeah.
I mean, because it wasn't one of those he was out cold. Well, I mean, he kind of was out cold, but I don't remember who the ref was, but as soon as he got on the ground, I mean, there were about 6 or 7 punches while he was out cold, and his head was just connecting with the mat every single time.
Unnecessary violence.
You know, I in my personal opinion, I mean, you had Benoit Saint Denis with
Soccer kick.
Frivola. The toe that knocked him out from the temple looked like this freaking shotgun shell. And I think the Aspinall knockout was the most surprising. In my
Absolutely.
opinion.
He knocked out a polar bear.
Yeah, literally a Russian polar bear. Because, you know, we were talking when Pavlovich came out, me and Grayson both said, like, you know, he is about to skull drug Aspinall. And then that happened, and he kind of stood there for a second out, and I didn't believe it. I mean, he just kind of stood there, and I was like, did that actually happen? And then another, you know, hook from God came and ended his life.
When Pavlovich got hit by that first Aspinall punch that rocked him, all I could think about was that sound effect they'll put when people are slipping, like whoop, 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 whoop. Like that's all I could imagine. Yeah, because I mean, he looked like he was on skates, and then I mean, I think it was Herb Dean ended that fight. And then on top of that too, Jessica Andrade just made Mackenzie Dern look like an absolute fool. I mean, every time she punched her and connected, like a full connection, she never out sent her across the ring. It looked like I was watching like an anime fight when they punch each other and they like shoot each other into a wall. Like that's that's what I thought I was looking at. I mean, at one point, what called it was when Andrade hit Mackenzie Dern so hard she ended up standing on her head.
Yeah. She looked like she was doing an upside down T-pose. Like,
Yeah.
it was bad. But
did Joe Rogan say, "I hope you get this bonus so you can pay those divorce attorneys"?
yes, he did
Oh my
say
gosh.
that. She did say
That
that.
was the most out of pocket shit I've ever seen come through my Twitter.
Well-
It was beautiful. She didn't speak English, so
Well-
maybe they didn't translate it.
Well, and then the final fight, Alex Pereira and Yuri Prochazka. Like the adrenaline from this fight itself, like for a lot of, I mean, like Nick talked about, there was no build to this fight. It was like, hey, these two guys are fighting at MSG. It was sold out. I mean, there's what was it? The second
highest grossed UFC event at MSG.
Yeah, with
And
no build.
MSG is the highest grossing arena in UFC.
Yeah. So, but just the fact of this build, I didn't go to sleep till 3 a.m. because the adrenaline's still in my body from watching this fight. Seeing a guy, a guy from the Czech Republic that literally lives by the like Bushido code of the samurai, and then you have a literal Brazilian like tribe member, that's Poetan. Yeah, he's at 6'6", weighed in at 205, but was probably sitting at 220. That's also a kickboxer. So I know, like, I was pacing at the bar just watching this fight, and I know the funny thing is that me and Nick talked after the fight, and it was like, that fight looks like it was stopped a little bit early, because they went to the ground and then Mark Goddard stopped it, and it was funny because everybody was posting on Twitter. It was like, oh, that fight should have been stopped. They should have let him go, blah, blah. And it was funny because Jerry got up and he was like, LOL, yeah, I was out.
And that's the thing too, though. In that the other fight, he got knocked out by the up kick, fell down on top of him, and said he was out. And you could see from the video that he was knocked out laying on top of him. And then he proceeded to knock out his opponent after he had been knocked out. And so that was the thing. Like, I get that he says that because I really think he's just a good sport and he does not want anything to be a controversy. Like, I truly think that he is like part of, he lives by the code, almost cliche way of saying it, but he's like, I will accept defeat and I will come back the right way. I'm not going to argue it. I'm not going to try and dispute it. Sure, he got me. Let's go again. And it does suck because I feel like, you can't predict what was going to happen from there, because Yuri, he sat down on his ass and still had both legs, and that's when they called it. Pereira never even got on top of him. And I don't know, like, if I'm Mark Goddard, I'm letting Pereira, if Pereira gets top mount and starts berating him and Yuri's not actively defending himself or doing anything back, stop it then. Don't when he sits down, on his ass like that. I don't like that call. I do think it was an early stoppage, but I mean, again, you can't predict the future because, there's probably a 95% chance that Pereira was going to hop right on top and knock him clean out. But I'm just saying it didn't happen. And that's where the early stoppage controversy is. And I mean, I agree that it was an early stoppage, but
and then
the
the caveat of it all was the running joke of Alex Pereira just following Izzy wherever he goes and calling him out. And he called Izzy. He basically told Izzy to come get the smoke. And
Sting was looking in the rafters at him.
Yeah, well, and then Izzy said something about, like, he posted something on Twitter about him, of course. And it's funny because I think 3 years ago, Israel Adesanya made a quote about Alex Pereira saying, here in 5 years, he's going to be sitting at a bar talking about the one time I beat that guy. And then that's exactly what Izzy was doing, was sitting at home talking about the one time he beat Alex Pereira.
Yeah, his 1-8 record against Pereira.
I don't think he's mentally recovered from Sean.
I wouldn't either, dude. Sean. Well, honestly, it's hard. It's hard to mentally recover from a guy that hasn't mentally recovered from whatever's wrong with him. Yeah,
I feel like Izzy should
Got
go
called a
up.
dog and then got knocked out.
yeah.
Hard to come back from that.
Yeah. Well, I feel like Izzy should go up in weight class and then fight Yuri.
Oh,
that would be a fun fight.
Well, it looks like the next fight is going to be Pereira versus Jan Blachowicz.
I'm not excited for that.
Why?
I don't.
Why do you say that?
I mean, who did he fight last? He fought
John Jones.
No, he fought Kamzat.
Kamzat?
Chimaev? Or
Did
was
he?
it Anklev?
No, that was on
But it was
Kalev.
a draw. It was a draw.
That was on
But-
Kalev, I think.
Yeah, because all he did was kick him a couple times, and Jan couldn't do anything. But
Well-
I don't. I mean, it could based on other fights, but I think that will just add to the highlight reel for Pereira, which I'm not opposed to. I would love to see it, but
Yeah. Well, I think if he tries to get into a kicking match with Alex Pereira, I think that's going to be a bad time, because the first kick that Pereira threw against Yuri, he literally knocked him off his legs, and it was a simple calf kick. So, well, that gets into
Simple.
our
yeah, break a
yeah.
2x4.
Oh, but all right. Well, that gets into our low light.
Wake up, Kyle.
So,
I'm up.
So low lights this week. Number one is Arkansas just getting absolutely blasted by an Auburn team that should not be blasting anybody. I think Auburn peaked this past week, but for Auburn to go into Arkansas and just decimate them 48-10, I don't think anybody was expecting that. It's like Auburn was playing an FCS school.
Well, dude,
Probably Sam Pittman to get fired after that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
like we were talking, I was talking about it with someone. Or it might have been our group chat.
It was me.
I was like,
almost picked
yeah,
him.
it was you, BB. I was like, yeah, this is like a 17-14 kind of game, because Arkansas was coming off a 39-37 victory at the Swamp. I was like, there's no way they come home and don't put up a competitive fight. But then, they put up 10 points, and the only touchdown they scored was with their backup quarterback. It wasn't even KJ, because they sat KJ, because, I mean, it was already 48-3 by then.
Yeah.
And choo choo, here comes the Polar Express. At that point, man, if I was a recruit coming in, I would decommit. Like you got the Polar Express on in the locker room while getting your ass kicked by Auburn. That's embarrassing.
So
Yeah.
the two funniest things about that part: one, recruits are allowed in the locker rooms
Oh,
while they're after the game and during halftime. So one, they saw that. Two, Sam Pittman was asked about it in the press conference. He said, yeah, I didn't really know about that. And so I spoke with the player, and he said he was sorry. So, I mean, it's over with now. Brother, how do you not know when you're getting skull drug and you're not in the locker room and you can't tell that this
He has diabetes.
0.5 star
Yeah.
player was 5 inches, looked like George Pickens when he got drafted with the Polar Express. And I mean, like, how at first I thought it was like one of those memes where they put it on over, and I was like, okay, that's kind of funny. Kept scrolling, and I was like, I saw like 3 or 4 more, and I was like, oh my God, they were actually watching the Polar Express during halftime. What kind of bad team? Oh, yeah, never mind.
I mean, are you not as a coach in there
almost dropped the R
yelling?
word.
I'm just yelling at your team, because there's no way you're doing anything if they have time to watch the Polar Express.
Well, a power move for Sam Pittman would have been like punching the TV screen, is what it would have been like.
Yeah.
But no, I guess not.
Nah, that bitch came out and said hot chocolate. Like, yeah, no, he was embracing it. He don't give a
Almost
believe
spit
it's
that
the
beer on
Alabama.
the I almost spit that beer on that computer.
Oh, all right. Well, our second low light for this week is Jimbo Fisher getting fired, and not only Jimbo Fisher, but Texas A&M to go along with him, but since they had to pay him $76 million for him to go sit at home. Jimbo Fisher has I saw this on Twitter, and I see it every year when somebody gets fired. The best job to be is a fired collegiate football coach.
Well,
I saw one thing. It was a meme where it was like, I can't wait for Jimbo and Coach O to hit up the floor Bama this year.
well,
That
the
team
thing
game to
is,
be elite.
he had already collected $48 million from
Oh,
Texas
I think
A&M
he
from
gets owed
2018.
like 37 million within the next 30 days.
Well, the thing is when COVID happened and they were 9-1, they gave him a bonus of 20 million that 1 year, and is now totaling through his entire tenure plus his buyout $125 million. And I think the funniest part is at halftime during the Mississippi State game that they're blowing them out of, they presented the check from a donor or multiple donors for that amount. And it was like in one of those big fake checks, for looks, and everybody was commenting like, hey man, like that's our buyout right there. And then all of a sudden it comes out that Thursday night they had met and said, yeah, we're firing him, we're getting this donation, and so yeah, we're gonna go ahead and buy him out.
Yeah, that check that they were showing was a severance pay.
Yeah, I would want to be a fly on the wall when Mississippi State's coach woke up Sunday morning, checked his phone, and saw that the coach that beat him by 40 got fired.
And Zach Arnett's buyout was 4.5 million.
Well,
Yeah.
all I can say is that oil money makes a lot more than that cheese money up here. So,
But I mean, yeah, well, is Gus Malzahn going to Texas A&M?
No, apparently they got a lot more money than we thought, and they're I mean, well, I sent y'all the thing that they had reportedly were going to offer Kirby 20 to 30 million. It's not going to happen, but if they're throwing out that kind of dollar, like they're even more stupid than I thought.
I respect the move. Make them say no. You don't know until you ask. But the ball's in them to go up to UGA. Like,
I just think it's stupid to keep going.
You like cowboys? You like cattle? Steer? Come on now,
cow.
Giggle.
Yeah. I don't know. Stop going over after these names that I've already made.
Because the list I saw from like Big Game Boomers, they had Dion as like a third candidate. I mean, Dion's not going there because
he also had Dan Campbell on there.
Our final low light is the Ravens collapsing. Kyle, you actually watch that game?
I watched it to the halftime because I was like, well, this is over. And
yeah,
then,
if you want to kind of explain it.
Yeah. Deshaun came out there, sucked. Lamar looked like the MVP. He was just balling. It looked over. I mean, it was one of those games where you're like, well, let's see what's on the over. Yeah. But my boy texted me like halfway through the fourth. He said, bro, are you watching this Ravens game? I was like, why the fuck would I be watching this game? He said, turn it on. And I turned it on. I was like, oh my gosh. How do you – I think it was a 30-point lead they blew or something like that. It had to be close. But it
was 14.
At that point, when you have that big of a league, I hope teams start learning this. When you have that big of a league, stop passing the ball in the second half. Do what Michigan does and just run the ball every play in the second half.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Ooh, would you like to expound on that, Nick?
Be aggressive. I like it. I think he just made a couple poor throws. I mean, the game plan was still pretty solid, but yeah, I don't think God, I don't think it's never mind.
Let's look at the aggressiveness this year. Miami losing on a fumble when they should have nailed the ball. Yay.
Uh,
Ravens collapsing.
Mario Cristobal
Yay.
should have been fired in the sun for that. I still don't like that. And what makes it worse, I don't know, we're not going to do that. We already talked about this, but it's the second time it's happened to him.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess it's out of our highlights and lowlights, and we've already done the NFL. So let's get into college football. Game of the week this week was Duke and North Carolina. They went into double overtime. North Carolina got the win and then rushed the field against Duke, their bitter rival in college football. So high scoring game, high scoring ACC game, of course. So anybody got anything to comment on that?
Yeah.
Who the hell
Duke-
watched
Duke-
this game?
I did.
Not me.
God,
Kyle
Kyle.
I'm a sicko. I'm sorry. I got 5 games going on every Saturday
Yeah.
in each time slot, so I apologize. But
He watches
Duke
while he's
lost
asleep.
that game. Yeah. Duke lost that game because they didn't replay a no call interception. Duke clearly intercepted the ball, but they gave the possession to North Carolina, which led to North Carolina scoring, bringing it to overtime. And I mean, they got screwed bad.
Well, I guess moving on into our player of the week, like I mentioned earlier, it's the running back for Missouri, Cody Schrader. So not only did he have 35 rushing attempts for 205 yards and a touchdown, he also had 5 receptions for 116 yards, 23.2 average on that. So, I mean, obviously he was a big reason why they diced Tennessee. So moving on into our game predictions for the week, had a so much better week in college football than we did NFL. 88%. So I think we went 22 to 25. We're at 66.1% for the year. Kyle's at 33 and 23. Caleb's at 36 and 20. Nick is at 40 and 16. BB's at 35 and 21. And I'm at 41 and 15. So that being said, our slate of games are Georgia and Tennessee, North Carolina, Clemson, Kansas State, Kansas, Louisville, Miami, and then Washington versus Oregon State. So let's go through the picks one by one. And Kyle, start us off with Georgia and Tennessee.
Yeah, I got Georgia. Tennessee got absolutely embarrassed by Missouri last week. I think Georgia's going to duplicate that, maybe even worse. So give me Georgia on that one. Yes.
Caleb picked Georgia. Nick, who you got?
Georgia.
Okay. BB?
Give me the fight Nick Conkey.
I'm picking Georgia. Second game is North Carolina and Clemson. North Carolina versus Clemson. North Carolina with their thriller win against Duke, and Clemson coming off a win against who did they beat? They beat Georgia Tech. Oh yeah, they beat Georgia Tech this past week. Okay, yeah. So ACC matchup. Let's start with you, Nick. Who you got?
Clemson by, I'd say by 2 scores.
Okay.
Clemson's kind of hitting their stride a little bit, and UNC, they've just been slipping. So I mean, you just look at trends.
Yeah. BB?
I got Clemson. Like Nick said, I think North Carolina's kind of lollygagging at this part of the year. And I think after Dabo got chewed out by that one fan, he's figured some things out.
I picked Clemson as well. Basically the same thing as Nick. I mean, Clemson's trending up, North Carolina's trending down. Caleb picked North Carolina. And then Kyle.
Yeah, Clemson. Same reason as Nick. You took the words right out of my mouth there.
So one thing I want to point out to everybody at home, just while I'm looking at this and have it have it pulled up. So there was only one variance in teams picked, and it was Caleb picking North Carolina. We all picked the same teams throughout this week. So that being said, let's go Kansas State, Kansas. Why are we picking Kansas State? Like what's like, instead of going through it, since we all picked Kansas State, why are we picking Kansas State together?
Yeah, I think Kansas always had that one hot game where they beat a really good team and they beat a bunch of mediocrity teams. I mean, that's about it. And this week just feels like a Kansas State University just coming in and putting them back in their place like that usually happens each season.
Yeah, I just don't think Kansas is there yet.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think Kansas State is, I mean, obviously the better team, but I just think I think Kansas is a little too inconsistent too for them to beat Kansas State, who's more of a consistent ball team.
I concur.
Louisville, Miami. I mean, I think that's pretty clear cut too. I mean, Louisville. I mean, did they solidify their spot in the ACC championship game this past week? Right.
I think they got to win one more.
Okay. So Louisville's got everything to win. Miami. I mean, we said the same thing about Miami last week. They had opportunity to upset Florida State. Get a big win against a team that was potentially going to the ACC championship game, and then they just didn't. So I don't think anything's going to change there between Louisville. Honestly, I think that's actually going to be a pretty good ACC championship game matchup.
I concur.
Yep. And then finally, Washington, Oregon State. We all picked Washington. I mean, between Washington and Oregon, I think those are your two clear cut best Pac-12 teams. So in what scenario does
Kyle, go ahead and tell us, buddy. How does Oregon State win this game?
I had to finish that beer. So it's gonna be a low. Yeah, it's gonna be a low scoring game. Oregon State, Washington both have really good defenses. I think Oregon State's got one of the better defenses in the Pac-12. So, look at 21-14, and hopefully Oregon State can keep carry them to the fourth quarter. It's their best bet, and hopefully still one out. But I just don't see it happening that way.
Nah, like I said, I think Washington wins it pretty easy. So
I concur.
Big Phoenix energy.
Well, it is now time for everybody's favorite segment of the week. Kyle's out of pocket pick of the week. So, Kyle, go ahead with your oop of the week.
Yeah, I went Pac-12 just to piss off someone in this group. We're going Oregon and Arizona State. I think Oregon right now, they've already got a clinch championship berth for the Pac-12. So I think the rest of the year, they're not really going to be boom, boom, boom with it, trying not to get anyone hurt. So, Arizona State, I think, covers here. They're going to come out with nothing to lose. Still get their ass kicked, but only lose about 18.
All right. And then finally,
Hold on.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No.
There's a response.
No. I am not responding to that.
Talk about Lane Kiffin for me.
I'm about to talk about Lane Kiffin.
Ooh, I got a special beer. I got a special beer for this. The Land Shark, baby.
The
Kyle, you better watch out for you get any Gators crosshairs.
I'm gonna chug this when Nick does this. So let's do this, baby.
You'll break the glass in your mouth. So Lane Kiffin. I need somebody to send this to him, even if it's just the clip. You are the most overrated football coach in all of college football. You talk such a massive game. You've got a huge Twitter presence. You're one of the, when you're recruiting, you're sitting out in a Bentley with your recruit in a hoodie. You've got all this swag, but you cannot win a top 15 matchup to save your life. You were hired in 2019 to Ole Miss, and yes, congrats. You keep them consistently at maybe 10 wins, and that's your Super Bowl. But Lane Kiffin, and just since COVID, we won't even include the COVID year because you didn't do that well, but we'll leave it off. We are looking at you lost to Alabama in 2021, Auburn in 2021, Baylor in 2021, Texas Tech in 2022, LSU to 2022, Alabama in 2022, Alabama this year, and Georgia this year. You have no top 15 wins. And when you're asked about it, Lane, in this last press conference after getting skull drugged by Georgia, why can you not compete in these big games? And he goes, well, I'm not putting it on the players, but, we have to get some bigger recruits in. There's no like self-responsible, talk from him because he's sitting there talking about better recruits. Bitch, you do the recruiting. You've been there for 4 years. You're sitting here and, these players that you're talking about, they're your players. You've developed them. You've recruited them. There is no more, when like Hugh Freeze, he comes in and if he says, oh, well, we got to recruit better. Well, okay, that's fine because, none of these guys are your players. It's your first year. But Lane, you're on year 4. These guys, they're your players. Every single one handpicked by you. What do you mean you have to recruit better? Buddy, you are becoming the problem. You're becoming such an internet sensation, a YouTube, social media, whatever they're called, the content people. Influencer. Yeah, that's the word. But you've become that and a spectacle, but you can't win a game. You get, again, 10 wins, but you cannot win a top 15 matchup. You are overrated as hell.
I do think you got a cute dog, though, Lane.
I concur with you, Nick. I concur.
What did you say, Kyle?
He's got a beautiful golden retriever that he uses for recruiting.
Okay, shut up, Kyle.
All right.
I was about to say, I don't think Grayson has a golden retriever.
And that was Scorched Earth Rowdy Gator Nick Noah's rant of the week. Finally getting an upset watch. Texas and Iowa State. Kyle, since you had your oop, what does Iowa State need to do to beat Texas this week?
I think it goes more on Texas, to be honest with you, Grayson. Texas has been slipping since the Alabama game. It seems like they've been getting progressively worse and worse as the season's gone. Last week kind of proves that they should have really beat TCU by a lot. But then they let them come back in the second half and only won by 3. They only scored 3 points in the second half. If they come out like this again, Iowa State, who has a much better defense, I think we could see an upset there with that.
I do not concur.
Yeah, I think
Texas fanboy.
Yeah.
No, I need Texas to win.
I want
my chaos theory to happen in real life.
Let me be clear. I want Texas to win out just so we can get that chaos with Alabama. They beat Georgia. I want the freaking mayhem.
Oregon to beat Washington.
No SEC. Yeah.
The mayhem
in the Pac-12
is not going to happen because not every team is going to remain undefeated. I think either Louisville or Oregon will beat Washington or Florida State, and they will not go in undefeated. You will not have 3 teams go in undefeated in the playoffs this year. I get that we only have a couple games left, but that's not happening.
All right, hold on, guys. 2 weeks from now, we're going to get into this. So we're going to hold it for now.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Right. No.
All right, let me scroll up then.
All right, Nick, let me put it like this. Alabama is going to beat Georgia.
Nope.
No. Yes, dude. I'm telling you.
I'm not as confident as Kyle about that. I just want that to be
Alabama hasn't figured out with Nick Saban.
Well,
got the
guess
offense
what?
figured
I
out.
think Georgia's got it a little bit figured out.
I guess
Would-
I don't think they're going to
you not
compete
agree?
against Alabama. I don't think they're going to compete against Alabama. They have. I will say they're looking great. They're looking like last year, but I think Alabama's the better team as of now.
Hold on, I gotta find my chaos theory.
Oh, here we go.
You think Alabama
Washington-
right now at this moment at 7:43
7:43.
on Monday, you think Alabama is better than Georgia currently?
Yes,
You were drunk.
you were also drunk, but no,
No.
I honestly do. I honestly do. I
Wow.
think defense is evenly matched, but I think offensively Alabama has a better offense. And you can't use Ole Miss as a point right there. Ole Miss has no defense.
They have a good offense. They kept them at 350 yards.
Yeah, but Alabama has a great defense. They've been keeping teams low. I think it's going to be a great game, and I think Alabama beats them.
I'm still trying to find my chaos theory.
And I'm going off the
Hurry up.
coaches right now. I think Saban is a better coach than Kirby Smart.
Okay, I think Cam Newton's a better player than AJ McCarron.
That is
Yeah.
true.
I mean, yeah, no one's arguing here. But I think
Yeah,
it's
I
going to come
agree,
down
but
to
I
who-
mean,
I concur.
But what I'm saying, Nick, it's going to come down to coaching itself because the teams are very evenly matched. I think the coaching is going to be what wins that game.
you know what's going to be the deciding factor that we have seen the last 2 years? I think they're going to get matched up in the SEC championship, and I think there's going to be some idiots on ESPN, just like you, Kyle, saying Alabama's got it, they're back, they're coming, and Kirby is going to use that to fuel Georgia.
I don't.
Okay, time out. I'm not done.
Sorry.
No, Georgia. I'm an Auburn fan. I dislike
I know.
Georgia more than Alabama. So I say this very unbiasedly. This Georgia team, in my opinion, is better than the last two national championships by the time that they're playing currently. Carson Beck, we talk
no.
about how trash he is, but he's currently sitting at 5th in the nation in passing yards. And they have Brock Purdy back. When Brock Purdy was out,
Hours.
Carson Beck,
Not Purdy.
or-
Not Purdy.
yeah,
Bowser.
Brock Browser.
You did
no.
to me.
So Bowers, he comes back. But while he's gone, Carson Beck's numbers go up. And now
Oh.
with Brock Bowers back, I don't see anybody stopping it.
Yeah, and I've picked against Georgia almost all year. They
I
are
know.
definitely back.
You've been wrong
they
all
are
year.
great. Yeah, they are a great team. But since that Texas loss, Saban has gone back to his old self. He has developed that team to play around the new offense, man. And I think it's gonna be a great game. It's gonna be really close, but I think Alabama beats them out in the end. I think it's gonna be probably between a 3-point to 7-point game, and I think Alabama steals it from them. And I think Alabama's the better team. I really do. And that's not me saying that Georgia's terrible, because Georgia's a great team. And I've been proven multiple times why they're a great team. But Alabama, to me right now, is one of the top teams in the country, behind Michigan.
Okay, so let
Found my chaos
before we
scenario.
move on, I know. Hold on, BB. Since Texas, let's look at Alabama. So you obviously had South Florida, they're still figuring out. And then if you want to say, Ole Miss, they're still figuring out. Okay, cool. And then, they blow out Mississippi State. Man, that was a great win. Then they play Texas A&M, who just fired their coach 26-20. Okay. That was, that was a little tough. Then they play Arkansas. They win by 3. Okay, well, maybe they're not done yet. Maybe they haven't figured it all out yet. Okay. So let's go to Tennessee. and they have a great second half comeback. Oh, good. That's real good. Then they come in to play LSU. LSU has them on their heels, so they knock out Jaden Daniels. All right. That's a great coaching, effort by Saban there. So then let's go further into, Kentucky. Man, they throttled Kentucky, even though their great defense led up 3 touchdowns to a slipping Kentucky team that Georgia also somehow demolished. So yeah, it's not happening.
But Nick, we can do that with Georgia. Look at it this way. They beat South Carolina 24-14. South Carolina is a terrible team this year. Look at Auburn. They only beat them 27-20.
Jordan Hare.
Then you look at
South
Vandy.
Carolina
They
was the
only
third
beat-
game.
Okay. You look at Vandy, 37-20. They should never only beat Vandy by 17. That should easily be a 35-point win. Florida, yeah, they beat the hell out of Florida. Missouri, 30-21. And I think Alabama's a better team than Missouri. And then they whooped up on Ole Miss. But I truly believe Alabama is the better team in the conference.
So they
right
beat
now.
Vandy, Florida,
Wait,
Georgia.
hold on. You think
Missouri.
Alabama's better than Georgia?
Yes.
Where
So
the
I didn't
f- you
say
been?
that minutes.
Yeah. What, have you not listened for the last 10 minutes?
Yeah, I've been trying to
And
find
the
my
reason-
chaos theory,
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
BD's
yeah.
on this rabbit
Sorry.
hole over here.
which I
Sorry.
found it. But I don't know if this is the time nor the place for it. Let y'all two
But
fight.
yeah, where I'm coming from, Nick, they're both great teams. I think they both deserve to be in the playoffs. I think they're easily top 4 teams in the country. But I think Alabama, with their coaching, makes them the better team.
You can't put Alabama in the playoffs unless some shit happens and Texas loses again.
Oh yeah, I know. It's gonna get crazy. I hate that. And
Bama needs
hold on.
3 to lose.
Yeah, and y'all know this from me, as long as y'all know me. How much do I hate Alabama? It is a shit ton.
No, you hate the SEC.
No, that's not true. I like Ole
That is
Miss.
true.
I like Ole Miss, and I like Florida.
Ooh.
I ain't gonna say everybody.
Indicator Nick did not like that.
Hey, Graham, baby, Graham all the way. But
Just like mayhem.
but no, I truly think that with the coaching, Alabama beats out Georgia.
So should I save my chaos theory for another week or?
Yeah, we're doing it
Yes.
next week.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that ends our JEB board episode 12 plus run over of debate between Kyle and Nick. But that wraps it up, guys. Make sure you guys check us out on everywhere that we have the podcast. Go check out all of our social media where we have social media at. And until next time, don't get hard counted.